In recent times, we have experienced a lot of unrest in schools and we don't know what is happening in our schools. So today I have a panel of three actually, to help me unravel what's happening in schools. What do they know about what is happening in schools? To my right, I have Killiad, Msafiri. I have Sammy, Wambua next to me, and I have Hillary, Orinde. So far, we've seen like 152 students have been charged in courts following the recent unrest in schools. Killiad, what do you think is causing this unrest in schools?
Well, sometimes it's hard to establish it when you are not exactly at the middle of it, but we can just maybe hypothesize, because I've also been a student before and we get a lot of strikes from the second term towards the third term when the national examinations are being done. So probably I'll say that the build up to the examinations, there is usually a lot of pressure. And at that time, I remember when I was in school, there was a lot of misconceptions about the exams. Like in my case, we were told that the mocks will be used to gauge us in KCSE.
Okay.
And we usually know that the mocks are usually very difficult. It's very there was that misconception that the mock is actually difficult than the KCSE. Then someone is here telling you that the marks in the mock will be used to gauge you in KCSE. So I think it's kind of a fear factor. And I remember during my time a lot of school strikes. And when a school strikes, it's like a cycle that continues. So
it's like a ripple effect. It goes to other schools and catches the cold. Hillary, Killiad here says that the exam factor, the mocks, is one of the factors that is causing this arrest. Do you agree with Killiad?
No, I doubt if it's because of the exams. To me, a school unrest is just hooliganism that should be condemned from the very onset. It's a ripple effect, trying to play hero. Actually, exams, we were all in school, the four of us. There's that good feeling. Everybody wants to get out of school. That final exams ushers you to a next level. If you're really tired of this current state that you are in, you're not going to ban that school so that you can even be in that school for longer. You're going to do this exam and go away. Why are you banning the school that you want to get out of?
Okay.
So it's just hooligans trying to play hero.
Hillary says it's hooliganism. He clearly disagrees with Killiad. Sammy, from a parent's point of view, we have two opposing views here. What do you think is causing this unrest?
I agree with Hillary. It's barbarism. Okay. Ban the very act of banning a school.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what the cause is. It's barbarism. Okay. It's criminal. And we should not mince words. It's criminal, destruction of property. Having said that, I don't think there's one. I don't think there's one single reason why they ban. It must be a combination of factors, depending on school.
Yes.
There could be one where the leader just mocked banned and they think that the school should be banned.
Yeah.
There could be another school where probably they were not allowed to watch World Cup. They said that we are going to teach this principal a lesson.
Yes.
There could be another one where they think it's cool to ban.
Yeah.
It becomes something like a youth movement, banning schools.
Okay. Do you think this strain? Some students have cited being strained, like they are told to wake up very early in the morning at 5 a.m. to go to class, and then they're forced also to work after 5 p.m. Classwork. Could that also be a lesson that students feel that they're overwhelmed with classwork?
Why does it? That doesn't happen only during the second term. If they are forced to wake up early, the first time they were doing it, third time they were doing it.
So you disagree?
Last year they were doing it, yeah. I'm saying these are very complicated things. You would need a very advanced sociological research to know what's the real reason. Because it must be a matrix of factors.
Killiad here is
what I think we need to understand is we need to place ourselves in the shoes of the students. Right now, we are at that level where we can think independently. But when you are in school, there's that what we call group thinking, and peer pressure. When you are a Form 4, and first let's understand that strikes in school are not caused by, they're just caused by a few people. You might find it's one or two people influencing the rest. So you might get married, it's actually 2 or 3 Form 4s, then they go to Form 1s, then they tell you at this time you must do this or do that. That's how strikes are. And some of the issues that when we hear students strike are very silly.
Okay.
but to them, like, it matters a lot. I remember during a time people were striking because they know potatoes not enough potatoes in their meals. Some of them usually strike like they don't get bread. I don't know.
Such like
There are
issues.
very petty reasons, but to them
But
they think it matters.
But you see, there being no bread cannot be petty issue, because if they are paid for it, why is it not
They
there?
should get it.
They should get it, so
Yeah.
they're fighting for their rights. Hillary, some people are saying that cartels are interfering with this, that cartels have taken over the schools, they have their own interests there. Do you agree that the cartels are interfering with schools, and that's one of the things that is causing this arrest in schools, unrest?
Cartels really make it look like it's a very big issue. We're really trying to sexy up these the goons, because what people are calling cartels are teachers who are advocating for or against delocalization. I really don't see how delocalization is affecting a student, because to me, if your role actually is to wake up at 5, go to class, go back to your bed and sleep, where the teacher is moved with their own family from Makueni to Wajir, what issue does it have with the banning of the school?
Okay.
So fine, the cartels are having a say in this, where they're trying to advocate for their own whatever. You find maybe Wambua is a teacher here and amejenga shamba, akona shamba na duka, akiona amepelekwa Wajir, they're seeing it like it's really disrupting their lives. But then delocalization, it's a teacher problem and not a student problem, and we're really trying to pin it on the students, that now students are protesting over this thing. I doubt if delocalization by these cartels is really something to pin on the students.
Wambua, delocalization is something that the government has proposed, but we've seen like the education stakeholders saying no to it, so we have two opposing sides here against. Of what importance is actually delocalization here?
Not all the stakeholders are disagreeing on this. There are some who say a teacher should be able to teach anywhere. And you see, this is why I support it. I don't know, let's call it teacher transfers.
Of course, that's
Because there used to be a
what it
teacher.
is.
These teachers who are ensconced in a school for a decade or 2 or 30 years,
Yeah.
Especially the big schools, they become so powerful, they attract the best schools, they become friends with the permanent secretary. So their school, let's say Alliance, Lenana, the schools which to dominate always. They
But
were dominating at the expense of other schools.
Other
So we
schools.
want equity, we want distribution of qualified teachers all over the country.
Okay.
And it is possible. Such a teacher, when he doesn't want to be transferred, he creates problems, and they snowball out of hand. You might tell students to boycott meals, but they take it further and ban the school.
But they say like
It's
the
possible.
local teachers understand the problems on the ground. They understand the topography of the area, and they say that local solutions for the local problems. So do you agree with them?
Kwaro, I don't think the problem is geographical. Whether the teacher knows the geography of the area or
That
it doesn't
they're leaving
matter.
their families, they live with their families here, starting
So?
to transfer them.
Yeah,
That's also another liability.
Where do they live? No, you live your family. You live in Kenya with your family. If you live in Kitui, why can't you live in Kisii?
Because I'm trying to imagine.
Just because the real reason we are not saying, just because he has a shop there, he doesn't want to live. Hardware shop which he uses to supply the school.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to go and start over in Kisii. So there's nothing like transfers, the ones we are calling
I would have
delocalization.
to-
Wait, there's nothing to do with that causing the problem. And if it's causing, it's not justified.
Okay. Killiad has
I would like
something
to take a kind of different shift from the discussion, but it's still the same thing that we're talking about. When a teacher stays too long in a certain school, what are the effects? For me, I think that this is what led to, cases of cheating in the previous years, where we've seen the cases of cheating in national examination rises. Because you get a teacher overstayed in a school over 10 years, he has established every communication with the examination council.
Yes.
So they know this is from a certain school, and they start building those networks and
Killiad,
connections.
can I ask you something?
Yeah.
If you have this connection at the National Council of Examinations, if you go to Wajir, do they stop being your friends?
Yeah.
How?
Because you
How?
can't compare.
I'm trying to
you can't
imagine.
compare.
The
You can't
oldest
compare.
teacher in my school was a disciplinarian. You are not going to cheat in examinations, whether he's in Kajulu Primary School or
Kisii,
Kisii
or
Primary
where?
School. If it's just your own view.
You must understand, when I was in primary school and I was asked, which school do you want to go to? I said, I want to go to Stare Boys Center. Why did I say just a common school? Because there's something about Stare Boys Center that you think gives you. That's the same. when you are a teacher from maybe Stare, Alliance, Mangus, people regard you highly. You might be just a normal teacher, but people regard you highly. So when you go to places like NEC, yeah, it's very easy to establish connections when you're up there.
So this teacher of Stare Boys, for instance, you want to stay there at whatever cost.
Yeah.
And that should be accepted.
Now that's the question that we should be asking ourselves.
You should be answering the
I think you
question.
know.
I just wanted to link it with the
No, when the teacher
I
signs that
think-
contract with the TSC,
I think
I am
Wambua, you're
sure-
not going to come on a conclusive decision on this. Let's just move on to the CS Amina. She said, like, when these students conduct those acts, they're actually criminal acts, and they're culpable. You know, she said that the avenues of them venting their anger. What are some of these avenues that the students can use to vent their anger instead of banning schools, touching schools, or even resorting to assaulting teachers? Because we've seen teachers being assaulted, and I think like there's a security issue now in schools.
Obviously, we are not going to buy them knives and cows to stab. Okay, we are not going to buy them knives and buy cows and they stab so that they see blood.
anger
and
is
their
out.
blood. That's why we have things like sports and extracurricular activities, so that they release steam. Yeah. And why are they annoyed in the first place? So that they need a place to vent their anger.
Okay.
Did she say? Why are they annoyed? Why are they so annoyed that I need to ban a school so that I can feel
so many
good?
reasons, because maybe there's been change of management in schools. They're being strained working from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. There was no meat. There was no meat in their meals. Those are some of the reasons they're saying.
Let students strike.
So what are the avenues of venting their anger? You want them to strike so that ban schools and assault teachers?
Yes, let them strike, because that's what we've taught them. Why am I saying that? At the national level, what happens when the government doesn't want to do something for you? You tibim, tialala, those kind of things. So if we've taught them that the only way we can resolve issues is through violence or partial violence and through demonstrations. So they are learning from the society. They're coming to the society, and what they see, it's like we are like a mirror. So what they see, they replicate in their respective areas. That's my argument.
Karo, when you're talking about anger, I'm trying to imagine it from a level. It's such simple things as just peer review.
Yes.
Just talking to the next person above you. I was a captain in school.
Yes.
You see, it's as simple as somebody telling me, fine, I've been in a situation where I'm now being faced with a strike. Remember, Wambua talked about entertainment.
Yeah.
I remember it was during the last, it was during a World Cup match.
Yeah.
And then after the match, which we aired actually, I was an entertainment captain. These guys still wanted to continue the entertainment. But then I wanted them to go to sleep.
Yes.
When I said no to this, everybody now started rioting, and then they want to ban the school and every other thing. But you see, it's just as simple as talking to people. Finding that one influential person who can calm them down. Anger, honestly. You telling me you have anger because you're going from class from 5 to 5? Where will you be working?
Okay, because they say
What will you
all
be
of
doing?
them
Where
are
will you
say like it's strenuous.
How? Sometime memorial, our four grandfathers and
Okay,
everybody,
guys,
everybody
but-
has gone to class from 5 to 5.
Okay.
My understanding of modern management of schools in Kenya is that they are very democratic. Don't they elect their class monitors
Yeah.
and prefects?
Okay.
Yeah. And don't they have things like parliament? Yeah. So if they have a genuine protest, I think there's a way they escalate them all the way to the principal.
Just a minute, because I'm trying to imagine being in a school setup, witnessing a strike in school. It's not you buy a matchbox and then pop up, we are going to light up a school. This is something that is conceptualized. Look at the school in Western Chip, we also primary, whatever, high school. These guys planned for it. These guys anticipated. It was, somebody has to go buy petrol.
Yes.
You see, all these processes for it to pass to the
Planning.
moment where somebody lights up that match and burns a dormitory means there's a breakdown of communication here between the management and the students. There is that snitch. There's that one person who will say it. How many guys? There's a school in Kericho that the plan was aborted because the principal got wind of the information and acted before it. So you want to tell me there's no means of communication?
Can we say
between
then in this management system there's a gap that needs to be filled? For example, principals need to be taken through capacity building to enable them get better management skills in order to manage the modern school, students.
No, they are trained. Principals are very qualified people. Okay? Principals are very qualified people. Even, I'm sure there are cases where even without democracy, some kichwangumu will just decide we have to ban the story because the school, because he thinks it's cool.
Okay.
They think the neighboring school has done it, why not
Yeah.
us? So I would suggest the government also, government, it's called the state because it has the legal monopoly to use force
Yeah.
to enforce compliance.
Yes.
It should also make it very painful for people to ban a school.
Oh, we're talking of the pain, Killiad.
Yes.
So, do we need the juvenile justice system to? Do you think if it's applied on these students, there can be a change? That we will experience a reduction in the unrest?
Before Killiad speaks, you are not going to punish them before they've committed the offense because the juvenile will work that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we need to prevent, we need to deal with the
But
cause,
we've
not
seen
the
the
effect.
152 who have
Yeah,
been
but you see,
charged.
that is after the fact now. That is
not
the
a-
effect.
That's more proactive than reactive than proactive. I think what we should be doing right now is preventing such things from happening. And I will support Hillary, like communication. You know what people of that age don't like is being dictated.
Yes.
If you have a dictator principal, if you have a dictator deputy principal and a dictator boarding master, they'll definitely ban the school. I think they should just establish a way in which students can communicate with the administration through their student leaders so that such things can be avoided.
What is the difference between being a dictator and a farm administrator?
Yeah, you can be a farm administrator, but you also listen. But if you're not listening, then yeah.
Let me
That's
bring
where the
in
problem
Hillary.
is.
Do parents have a role to play in this, and how much of a role do parents have in helping to curb this unrest in schools?
I think this is the one comment that I can make very simple. There are parents that if you ban a school, you won't go back to their houses. That should deter you.
Yeah.
A disciplinarian, my late mother,
Yes.
you ban a school and go back to her house, it's a no-no.
How would they know I'm the one who banned?
Actually, you can only... these things are always investigated. The students that were charged, the 152, I'm very sure they were picked from a group of people because these things, they can always trace back to someone. So I think parents, holidays and everything else, we've left everything on the hands of teachers. Teachers are now parenting our own kids. I think it's just a moment where the parents too have to take a mantle of just instilling discipline and everything else in the students, that when they're at home or when they're in school, just make them follow rules.
Wambua, as we come to a close, do we need a carrot and stick type of leadership in school to enable to help to curb this student unrest?
Of course, leadership everywhere, even the president uses carrot and stick.
Okay.
Yeah. You need carrot and stick to manage human beings everywhere in the world.
Okay.
At the church, at the school, government, everywhere. Yeah, you reward and where there. That's why I said farm. A farm guy who rewards and punishes. And I think the government should use its capacity to ensure these schools are not being banned. There should be regular patrols.
Okay.
You see, in political theory, you know, people fear the government
Okay.
because they know it can use force. I see so many land cruisers, police land cruisers, the blue ones, all over the country. There should be patrols, and the students should know that, should see them and know when we do this, this is going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And
Because
then
this
talking
idea-
of patrols, before we close it, we talk about the recent incident in Moi Girls High School, where we saw, like, as an afterthought, those kiosks that surround the perimeter wall, as you know, as a security measure. We saw the bulldozers coming and taking them down. Do you think that is going to help Killiad? Security keeping the, do you think the kiosks surrounding the perimeter walls in school contribute to some form
See,
of
before he
insecurity?
speaks, it turned out that the kiosks had nothing to do with whatever happened in that school.
For me,
Knee-jerk reactions cannot solve this problem.
I think there are
But then
just two
knee-jerk
different setups
reactions-
that are not really related, unless the kiosks are selling alcohol and drugs to the students. I don't see any really big effect in that.
It's, to me, it's not it's more of a knee-jerk implementation.
Okay.
It's on law that there is a good number of meters that facilities are supposed to be there from a school institution.
300.
So these things are there on
300
law.
meters.
So it's more of a knee-jerk implementation, not a knee-jerk policy or something. These things are there. It's us who went and encroached there. They should have been removed. We should have not waited for somebody to be raped for them to be removed. These things are not supposed to be there in the first place in any school setup. We nowadays have schools where bars are on top of them.
Okay.
Chini ni supermarket.
Yeah.
How honestly?
Day and night.
Day and night, people galabab
Day and night, ice
in the
cream.
nini. How are you going to do? manage such a nini.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right then, and that brings us to the end of the discussion today. We've had a very insightful discussion, and I hope a lot of students are watching and they can take one or two things from here.